In this episode of Home Theater Geeks, I'm joined by my friend and industry consultant, Michael Heiss. And we're going to be talking about the recently finished CEDIA 2025 Expo. So stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here, the Home Theater Geek. In this episode, we're going to be talking about CEDIA, the Custom Electronics Design and Installation Association, which had their expo last week in lovely Denver, Colorado. And I'm joined by my good friend, industry consultant and journalist, and jolly good CEDIA Fellow, Michael Heiss. Hey, Mike, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Scott, how you doing? It's been a while, and happy to do a report on the convention from the convention center behind the Big Blue Bear.
The Big Blue Bear. I remember it well. Now, this, I don't know about you. I went to CEDIA for at least 20 years, probably more. You've been probably going for 30 or more.
I have an asterisk like Roger Maris used to.
Yeah.
I've been to every one except for one during COVID, one after COVID, and one like 6 weeks after my stroke, and I was sort of advised that it wouldn't be a good idea.
Not a good idea.
But I've been to and instructed at every one.
Wow. And you're wearing your CEDIA instructor T-shirt there, so we all know.
I instructed 4 courses in one panel, which is why I'm a little ditzy right now.
Yeah, and you just got back like yesterday, right? Or day before?
Yes, Saturday night, yeah.
Man. Well, thank you so much for coming on, even though you're probably still a bit jet-lagged. And so we're going to talk about the show in 2 parts, 2 episodes. This part, we're going to focus on video. And one of the important parts of this story is what was not at the show. I mean, that was quite amazing to me. What can you tell us about that?
Well, there are 1 or 2 things I think that, industry and business writ large and tariffs and all of that nonsense, that could be one factor. Mm-hmm. The other factor is that the same week, last week, as CEDIA was IFA, the International Funkenstunken in Berlin, which is you could call it the CES of Europe, mm-hmm. except a couple of the days are open to the public. And picture, 150,000 people coming to a venue that's the size of a good community college, but a lot of the exhibitors that weren't at CEDIA were at Hisense being one of them, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
With some very important announcements, just chose not to come to CEDIA this year.
Because they were already at IFA in Berlin.
Yep. But,
LG wasn't
it was a good show.
LG wasn't at CEDIA.
They had a meeting room.
They had a meeting room, but they didn't have a booth. Digital projection, planar. There were a number of companies that weren't there. The other interesting thing, sort of non-thing, was that almost all of the products that you saw there were not introduced or announced at CEDIA. A lot of them were introduced at IFA. So IFA kind of took CEDIA's thunder a little bit, huh?
Well, I think, again, there are some, things amiss in the world at the moment that is responsible for that. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that there weren't any new, never saw it before first showing of, because that shows that there's some stability in the business. Because it's interesting when you spelled out CEDIA, just like NPR is not National Public Radio anymore, it's NPR. The NAB is not the National Association of Broadcasters, it's NAB, because the membership is comprised of many other people. So now it's CEDIA, and it's the home for smart. Oh man, I'll have to look it up. Smart home professionals, but it is because it's not just the home theater people anymore. There was a heavy, there was a heavy dose of lighting and shades and many home control, of course, and backup power and things of that nature that are not traditional or home theater at all.
Right.
But the industry, as the industry has grown, what the people who practice in it have grown to do other things than just home theater.
Right. Last year, you told us about the laundry chute system that people could put in their homes.
But I got a better one for this year.
Yeah, you got a better one for this year. We'll talk about that later. Let's start with TVs, however, because
Sure.
TVs are an important part of any home system. And TCL was there, for example, with their QM9K. That's a pretty new model.
Yep. Brand new, announced at the show.
Oh, this was an exception. This was actually announced at the show.
Well, TCL has done a very interesting thing. They had a huge booth at CES this year, as they always do. But rather than sort of show everything that they were going to announce for the year at CES, they did a very interesting thing, and they did phased introductions. So since CES, we've had the QM7, the QM8, and now the QM9. So they're sort of bringing them out in bits and pieces. And I will say that TCL, which is now about 20 years in the U.S. market, where some people used to say, yeah, that's just for warehouse clubs.
Right.
The fact that TCL, for the second year in a row, was at the CEDIA Expo shows where they're going. And that set, that QM9, that was, the match for almost anything.
Yeah, you said it looked really good, and I believe you. It's a quantum dot mini LED backlight LCD TV, 4K,
Right.
144 hertz refresh rate, so it's good for gaming. Supports all the high dynamic range systems, powered by Google Gemini, which is, I believe, Google's AI, right?
Yes, if we just go back to CES, it was one of those strange things where LG and Samsung are going with Copilot, and Hisense and TCL, which are kind of the top four brands these days.
Yeah.
The positioning may vary, but they're the top four brands. Hisense and TCL went with Google.
Yeah.
Gemini.
Yeah. And TCL also had in their booth their 115-inch behemoth, the QM7K, which
Yes.
You took a picture of, and here it is. And I used this picture. You sent me several of it, and I used this one because there's a picture of what a 75-inch is inside the frame of the 115-inch. So that's quite a bit more screen real estate.
And in fact, when I sent you that picture, I looked at it, I said, did I send them the one of the 115 or the 75? And then when you see that black border around it, you realize what they're doing.
Yep, exactly, which I thought was very cool.
Yep.
Okay, next up we have Samsung, and they, a few months ago, announced, along with a couple other companies, that they were going to start doing LED backlights, but not white backlights, but rather red, green, and blue, RGB backlights.
Exactly.
Yep. And they announced either at CEDIA or shortly before that those LED backlights were going to be micro scale, not mini LEDs like most high-end TVs today, but micro RGB LEDs. They're still backlights to an LCD panel,
but because they did announce that, or they said that they were going to do it back at CES, and I did see it at CES in the secret room behind the secret room.
Right.
So that was the first time that I'd seen it, and at that point, it was an 85. The one they had on the floor, both at IFA and CEDIA, was a 115. And I got to tell you, Scott, that was, if I had $30,000, I'd be buying one and a room where I could fit it, and the money to punch a hole in the wall to get it in the house.
Right.
I'd be getting one of those. It was the best flat screen I've seen ever.
Wow. Beating out OLED.
Yes. And
in your opinion,
interesting, the other two, in my humble opinion, and the other guys that are doing that are Hisense, which are also doing an RGB, but they're doing mini, not micro.
Right.
So the technology that's in the Samsung is the same thing that's in the DV LEDs, but it's used as a backlight. And interestingly, Samsung, which had, they said, the largest booth on the show floor, but the Harman luxury audio people and their associated brands were also in that booth. They, for the first time since they introduced it, did not show the wall. So they had this big RGB backlight set, but no direct view LEDs in the Samsung
How
booth.
very interesting. Wow. They claim that this
marketing decision.
Yeah. They claim that it hits 100% of BT 2020 color space, which is the ultimate color space. And as you said before, it cost $30,000. Now, very interestingly, they have another 100. Go ahead.
No, but damn well, Curtis Mathis, for those of you of a certain age, their advertising slogan was the most expensive TV set when TV sets were 21 inches.
Right.
The most expensive TV set and damn well worth it.
Yep.
And I can say that about this one.
Yep. Well, interestingly, Samsung had another 115-inch TV, the QN90F, which is also 4K. I think it's a mini LED, conventional mini LED backlight. That's in the next graphic.
And a good set.
That's a good-looking set, I'm sure. And they charge $27,000 for that. So it's like, really?
The pundits on the show floor that I spoke to said, I'll bet they'll be lowering that price soon.
Uh-huh. That picture we saw of it that you took also had a smart TV kind of theme to it, which indicates Samsung and other manufacturers are banking on the TV becoming the smart hub of the entire home.
Well, that shot that John just put up there, that was of Matter, and Matter matters. Because remember, CEDIA, is the Association for Smart Home Professionals, or residential technology professionals, or I'm going to probably get drunk. They're going to take my Lifetime Achievement Award because I can't remember the name, what they are these days. They'll take it away from me. But that was a high point of showing the integration of the TV set as the center of control for the home.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually is not the micro RGB set.
No, I thought it was the mini RGB.
Yes, that one was the mini.
That's
the
what
micro,
I mean.
They didn't show the smart things. Yeah. I mean, that's just showing how all these technologies are blending together.
Right. Now, one category that you mentioned to me that I've seen for a few years now, and it seems to be gaining steam, is what are so-called art TVs. That is, when you're not watching a TV show, they put art on the screen, from museums or wherever. And we have a few pictures of those too. Skyworth, which is a Chinese company, only now starting to come into the U.S. market, right?
Yeah, they've been around. When I go on my business trips to China, they're all over the place. But for the past 2 or 3 years, they are very gradually. They're not just blasting in. They're doing this in a very determined manner. And they have some outdoor sets, and then they have their one that you're showing, the canvas set, and it's 100-inch, and it's a very good set. And it's one of those things where the true test of all of these, and it's Samsung's the frame. They kind of started this, and TCL has the next paper, and Canvas from Skyworth, and Leon Speakers are doing that in conjunction with Sony Bravia.
Mm-hmm.
The true test is if you look at it and you poke it and you want to say, that looks like it's a real canvas. No, it's a TV set.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a growing category in the sense that if 2 years ago there was one, and last year there were two, and this year there were 3 or 4, that shows that the manufacturers wouldn't be making these things if there wasn't a market for it.
Correct.
And
that's right.
Clearly there must be.
Right. Samsung was also showing this on one of their 115 inches. I don't know whether it was the micro LED or the RGB or whether it was the regular LED. That's the next graphic.
I was so wowed by the micro that I didn't pay attention of what they were showing it on.
Well, here's an example of them getting content from MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, that you can get and put on your TV when you're not watching a show.
Yep. And in fact, it's interesting in the early days of large screen sets, the first one was, I think it was the 103-inch Panasonic Plasma, if you remember.
Yep, the 103. I remember it well.
When Bill Gates built his house, his big house on the lake up in Washington, he had, I think, about 24 of them. And he used those sets, albeit how many years ago, for 103-inch Plasma to show art.
Right. Exactly right. As you mentioned, TCL also has an art-based TV. Sony is partnering with Leon Speakers to do a studio frame series. They put a custom frame around Bravia 8 or 9, their current TV.
I mean, you can do it with any of them.
Yeah.
But the trick with this, you can do it with, you could do it with the set I bought at the yard sale last week. But the trick with these, it won't look too good, but the trick with these is that, as you said, they package collections of art, and a certain amount of it comes with the set, and then what a shock, you can subscribe for more art. Or as the CEDIA folks say, RMR, recurring monthly revenue. Because when was the last time you had some software? You can't get Adobe, any of the Adobe things as a one-time. You got to subscribe. You don't get Windows for free, not Windows, Office 365.
Right, Microsoft Office,
And they're all using that model, so that, good for them.
Good for them. They make more money.
Yep.
Next
product. Nobody makes money on TVs.
No. They make money on the subscriptions.
Exactly. Well, why, not to digress, but why stop now? Why did Walmart buy Vizio? Because they bought an ad channel and a way to deliver it.
Of course.
Nobody makes money on the TVs, but Walmart saw that there was a reason to buy a TV company. 2 or 3 years ago, when we'd be talking about this, who'd have thunked it?
Yeah.
They were clearly not at CEDIA.
yeah, Vizio or Walmart.
Right.
Okay, next category is what you have called, and I think rightly so, DV LED, direct view LED, what most people call micro LED, just to add to the confusion. That is LED screens where the LEDs are microscopic and you're looking at their output directly, not through an LCD panel or anything like that. And there were a number of those because CEDIA tends to cater to a higher end clientele, and these things ain't cheap. There's the Quantum Media Systems. They've been there for a few years. Their XDR4-8K Extreme is a micro LED direct view, 20 feet wide. This is a stock shot, the beauty shot that provided by Quantum, that shows it in a big residential home theater. It's their fourth generation.
Remember, Scott, that one of the advantages of this, cost notwithstanding, is that these things are modular.
Yes.
So that when you say it is an X size screen, it depends on how many module bricks you put together.
Correct.
And that also determines the resolution, which is a whole other story.
Right.
So the DV LEDs appeal to the CEDIA folk because you can fit them to the room size.
Right.
And you can fit them through the door.
And you can fit them through the door, which you couldn't with that Panasonic 103.
There was one that was put in a building in New York on the Billionaires Row that they had to haul up with a crane like you would a grand piano.
Yep. I remember that. But that thing achieves 2,000 nits of peak brightness, which is, you can't get a projection system to do anywhere near that. It's also DCI.
And they didn't hesitate to say that.
Right.
And in fact, where they have now gotten DCI approval for that system, and it's getting put into some screening rooms and some, places around here in the entertainment community. And the only other one like that was the old Samsung Onyx, which now there are actually a few of them in the in the theaters that Amazon owns down in Culver City, which I've been to, and one of them is 8K, and it's really good. But this one, year after year when Quantum has been there, they were clearly the best with the runner-up, in case Miss America cannot perform her duties, to the Sony CLEDs. And they showed them there, and interestingly, they showed the C version, not the B version.
Of the Sony.
Of Sony, I apologize. Yes, the Sony B version is what they use for virtual sets. The C version is is for higher contrast, and it was good, but it just nothing that I've seen compares to the Quantum.
Right. There's a couple graphics regarding the Quantum. Number 7 that I sent along here. Let's take a look at that one, which refers to. It's supposed to reflect about the DCI certification, which is Digital Cinema Initiative.
And the interesting thing that what that slide is showing you is you can get way more brightness out of this than you can out of a projector,
right?
Regardless of which projector, whether it's a Barco or a Christie, you can get way more brightness out of this, greater than what the standard allows you to do. And that's what they're showing in that slide.
Yep.
So this is beyond cinema like Dolby Vision. And they're all talking to each other about how to do this. But again, they're good guys, but not shy about saying how good it was.
And, okay, so they're blowing their own horn. That's fine. Another DV-LED that I found very interesting that you told me about was from a company called AWALL, AWALL, which is a company that also makes the AWOL, AWOL, UST ultra short throw projector. But now they've got a DV-LED in sizes of 100.
They've been doing that all along. I actually didn't realize that until I asked them. What? And this year they did not bring any of the ultra short throws. The only ultra short throw was the little Epson in the classrooms that I was teaching in.
Yeah.
There were no ultra short throws on the floor, but they apparently have been making walls for a while. And again, anything that comes to this market, baseline is going to be good. The question is, how much better does it get given brand preference of the client and the budget? But
right, exactly.
Good. There was one other one that I apologize I didn't send.
Oh wait! Before you get there, I have a couple of graphics of the AWOL.
Sure.
That I wanted to show that you took. Most of these pictures you took. So I thank you for that. There's the 129-inch.
But notice that there are different pixel pitches at these.
Right. This is a 0.9, which is fairly common these days. That's the distance between individual pixels or LEDs on the screen. And this one is a 21:9 ultra wide. So it's basically for wide. It fills up with widescreen movies.
Well, but again, remember, it's determined. The resolution is dependent upon how many bricks,
how many tiles you put together. Right. Exactly. And you also took a picture of the 163-inch, which I believe is probably, that's a 16:9, same pixel pitch.
Because it's the same modules.
Right.
Put in a different configuration. Now, the quote that I got from their press release, which I thought was really interesting, was they're claiming that they are going to be a quarter of the cost of their closest competitors. Now, of course, very few people talk about pricing at the show. Not in this market.
Not in this market. Yeah, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. But
exactly.
But they are claiming, that they're going to be 25% of what most other DV-LED walls cost. So I'm going to be really interested in this one.
Yes, I agree.
You said you had another one in mind?
Yes, it's called C-Seed. And you may have seen this before.
Yes.
It rises up and then it unfolds.
Yes.
And it's actually 3 panels. And they are advancing that. And again, that is definitely, and if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of the custom market. In the CEDIA market, and I know a lot of the people who do the, star homes of the stars kinds of things, there, if you're doing Spielberg's house or Arnold's house or one of those, excuse me, the quality better be good, because those guys know. Last year, the keynote speaker, as you recall, was Barry Sonnenfeld.
Yes.
You didn't want to put a lousy system in Barry Sonnenfeld's house, because he'd tell you.
Yes. In no uncertain terms.
Oh, in very no uncertain. He's the guy who stood up before an audience of, and again, it's worth repeating, I'm sorry, of, more than a couple hundred CEDIA guys, and he said, and you know what? HDR sucks.
Yeah, I know.
And you heard,
yeah.
But then there's another portion of the market where it's the bigger is better, and the design perhaps is more important than the quality, which may not be, if you're a home theater geek, that's one thing, but that there are people in the market that are looking for different things. And the CC is not the best quality perhaps, but it's really good, and it fills a need. And that's what the CEDIA member community is all about. Right.
There were also DV-LEDs from Barco and Sony, the C-LED, crystal LED.
Yep.
And again, those are, very expensive, and in some professional installations and screening rooms and stuff, but they ain't going to be in the average home anytime soon. This A-wall, who knows? We'll see.
I mean, Samsung has been promising smaller and lower priced direct view, not the micro LED that we've been talking about, but full on direct view, I guess that's what the DV is for.
Right.
They've been promising smaller sizes, but I think it's quite possible that by the time they're done with the technology in the micro RGB set, it's not worth having them be any smaller, and that way you'll never get the price down. So that's one, I'll let you know after CES.
Right. Well, you're coming back in January to talk about CES. So
yes, I am. Got my reservations.
Now, CEDIA used to be a big projector show, and it just wasn't as much this time. And it seems to have been declining a bit over the years.
Well,
yes.
All of the demos except for one were projectors. And they were not only projectors, they were big projectors. And especially the one put together by Seymour Screens and Storm Audio and a bunch of Sendo. And they had a huge Christie. And there were signs, and they'd say, when they did the intro and before they ran the demo, do not look at the projector or you'll never look at anything again. And they weren't kidding.
Right.
And they were like, laser warning labels. I mean, serious stuff that some insurance company probably made them put up. So the pictures were bright. The pictures were good. But once again, with one exception, which I unfortunately didn't hear, one demo that I know you're going to mention, that you still can't poke holes in a direct view screen. And there are people that for imaging sake, they want a projector. Or, there's a cost and quality consideration. They want to be able to raise the screen, So projectors are far from dead.
Oh, no. I never meant to imply that. However, there were several projectors at the show, none of which were new. So Sony had its Bravia 7 projector, which
was really good, by the way.
Yeah, and it's a $10,000 projector, and it's quite good. I know. Epson had nothing new. Well, I guess the newest was their LS9000.
No, they had one or two small ones.
Yeah,
that's one or two small ones.
The LS9000 is $4,000, so that's relatively low for the CEDIA market. That's
the heart of that market.
Yeah.
Because for all the guys doing $300,000 Christies and Barcos, where the average installation for a CEDIA firm is still in that $25,000 to $75,000 range, all in,
Right.
A $4,000 projector is the heart of the market. A couple of years ago, at CEDIA, Sony's shtick was 4K for 4K.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And all the Epson projectors now are 4K or pseudo 4K because they kind of do some pixel wiggling. Pixel shift, right. JVC had nothing new. They
had an 8K pixel shift.
They had an 8K pixel shift, which is the DLA NZ900, which is $30,000 or back up into that range.
And it was good. I saw it.
The DLA NZ700 is 4K. That's $10,000. They call it the world's smallest native 4K DILA projector. Well, okay, there are no other DILA projectors except from JVC. So they can claim almost anything they want.
DILA and SXRD are sort of second cousins twice removed.
Well, they're very similar. They're based on the same technology called LCOS.
Exactly.
Liquid crystal on silicon. That's a reflective technology. We don't need to get into that right now. And then there were the higher ends, of course, that were in most of the demos probably, the Barco Heimdall Plus, which was shown on a 174-inch screen with Meridian speakers. That was probably a pretty nice demo. And the Christie Eclipse G3, third generation, native 4K with RGB lasers. The Barco also has separate red, green, and blue lasers. They claim 20 million to 1 contrast ratio.
Those are the don't look at them.
Those are the don't look at them, right. And of course, if you're going to put a projector in a theater, you need a screen. And there were a couple of interesting ones I saw in the press releases and stuff. EVP had the Dark Star UST3 Elevate, which is a screen that motorizes up from the floor.
And I did see that. Stewart has had, well, that's the thing about CEDIA folk. That is something that a lot of them have done before, because you can take a Stewart or a Seymour or, you know, a DNP or whomever you want.
Or an EVP.
And you can do that by turning it around. And the CEDIA people, the good ones, and most of them are able to do that on their own. The advantage of what you just saw is that it's a package. So that means that by putting it together like that, they're broadening the market.
Right. The other screen announcement that I thought was really interesting was from Screen Innovations and their Chaos, K-A-O-S screen, which
Weren't they the bad guys in Get Smart?
They were the bad guys in Get Smart, exactly. They have this motorized screen intended for outdoor use in high wind conditions. They say it'll withstand winds up to 110 miles an hour.
If it's 110 miles an hour, I'm not being outdoors watching movies.
No, of course not.
Well, but Scott, you know the area. You lived here for many years. You know the area where I live.
Yep.
And one of these zoning things now to prevent mansions, they found a way to do it, is they're using ADUs, like the turn your garage into a living unit.
Yeah,
so
right.
They're building these silly houses and the ADUs. And one of the ones in my neighborhood, there was a projector in the overhang of the house, and then the pool. That's typically the way they are. And then there was a screen that dropped down from the ADU. So that's not as crazy as an application as it sounds.
Okay. All right. There was a number.
But not in a hurricane.
Not in a hurricane, for God's sake. There was at least one processor there. There were a couple that are used typically in high-end installations. One is from a company called Lumagen. The other is from a company called Mad VR. And they had a fairly new one called the Core Mark II, which for them is inexpensive. It's $6,000 or $7,000.
I'll take two.
Yeah, really. The Pro Mark III is $11,000, and the one that most people use is the Envy Extreme Mark III for $16,000. And they all support 48 gigabit per second HDMI, which is the current maximum rate. So I just wanted to
and they all look good, but it was difficult going from demo to demo to separate the projector from the processor. Was it a Mad VR or was it a Lumigen? And unfortunately, there's no way to really compare unless they're side by side.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned to me that the 8K Association was there and making its pitch for 8K. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, people are saying 8K, what do you need it for? Why? It's another thing. But there is a group within the gaming industry, the Hollywood studios, if you will, whatever they're calling themselves these days, and the consumer electronics world that are still increasingly pushing 8K. And the reason why they were there, and they took a decent sized space on the floor, was to show that some of the studios are remastering for 8K, because if it was shot on film, if there's a good negative, if it was, shot in 3-stripe Technicolor, and you've got a good print and you've got a high-res scanner, you can make really good video.
At 8K.
There's a lot of stuff at 8K. And I did ask the 8K Association folk if there was any news. I mean, coming up in the next couple of years, and a lot of it's going to happen here in the U.S., Super Bowl, World Cup, Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics, end of the world, watching outdoors on your screen. Come on, honey, we got to go. No, wait, I'm watching it over there. And there was I'm sorry. There was nothing that they could give me yet on whether or not there'll be any 8K out of the Winter Olympics. But, the real question is, what are you going to view it on, and how is it going to get to you? And 8K report. Let me summarize it by this way: reports of 8K's death are greatly exaggerated. To paraphrase, I guess, Mark Twain.
Right.
And keep a lookout on 8K. There's going to be a concerted effort, and there are applications where it makes a lot of sense. And again, especially CEDIA, where price is not always the object, it makes sense.
So you took a couple pictures I want to show of. One of them is they're adopters, people who are actively working on creating 8K products or content.
There you go.
And here
Those
it
guys,
is.
especially MGM, now owned by Amazon, they got a lot of movies.
IMAX
is all high quality. Got a lot of movies. And if you've got IMAX, I'd love to see an 8K of Oppenheimer, because that was filmed in IMAX.
Yep.
Much to the dismay of the studio, but you don't argue with Christopher Nolan.
No,
and
it's
Warner
true.
Brothers, they got a lot of movies. So look what they've done with what are they showing at the Sphere now in
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Okay, there's a 3-stripe Technicolor.
They remastered that in 16K for the Sphere.
So now the job's already done.
Yeah, really. Not only that, but digital movie cameras these days, there are increasing numbers of them that'll go to 4K, 8K rather.
Oh, a lot of some of the Reds are 12K.
Yeah, exactly. Also, there was another slide I wanted to show real quick of the ecosystem that they put up there, and look at all those companies that can handle 8K. And
I have to say that there wasn't some guy in the front putting his camera up in front of mine. That was in the slide.
That was in the slide. Okay. Then all we need are 8K displays, and Samsung is one company that's particularly interested in that, and
JVC
Sony
has the projector.
JVC has the projector, so there are companies from which you can buy an 8K display and show that content.
I'm saving up for the Quantum.
There you go. I wouldn't blame you a bit. Just a couple other quick things before we end this episode. Kaleidescape, which was the source device of choice for all the demos, I think, that you saw.
And all the all the demos I saw and all the demos I didn't see because there was nobody else other than a couple of people where for a variety of reasons they were playing stuff back from streaming. Yeah. But Kaleidescape that a couple of years ago I kind of poo-pooed, they own it.
They own it.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't remiss in not pointing out to you that, especially since Panasonic wasn't there, there were nary an optical video player on the floor.
Actually, I did read of one from a company called Magnetar.
I didn't see them there. I saw them at CES.
Yeah, no. Apparently, they were at CEDIA. You were busy teaching.
They may have been in somebody else. No, they may have been in somebody else's.
They might have.
But if my Oppo ever gives up the ghost, I'll have to get a Magnetar.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Kaleidescape introduced, or not long ago, introduced the Strato E player, which is $3,000, which is their lowest cost player in their lineup, and it's 4K, so probably doesn't have much storage. Yeah. And the other thing that you brought to my attention that I wanted to just mention real quickly is from the company Eero, E-E-R-O. They have something called the Signal. And tell us about that.
Okay, so not to belabor the point, I get up on Father's Day. It's Father's Day. Why did I get up early?
Why did you get up early?
I got up because I'm crazy and I had to check my email. But there was only one problem. No email. Okay, I'm a smart guy. I'm a CEDIA guy. I'm a CEDIA blada blada. I'll reset my switch. I'll reset my cable modem. I'll reboot my computer. And then I'll call Spectrum. And as it turns out, there has been a rash of cable thieves in this area. And in fact, in Pasadena and up near where you used to live, there were people stealing fire hydrants and selling them for the base metal. And a bunch of thieves, probably not too smart, early in the morning before Father's Day, cut what they thought were some telephone trunk lines. Joke's on them. It was all fiber. So there was no internet for any Spectrum customer for about 18 hours in most of LA and Ventura County.
Wow.
So, and I actually wrote an article about this in the current issue of Hidden Wires about always have a plan B, and I hotspotted from my phone. But so what Eero has now, and I actually am using Eero as we speak here, is a little widget that was in that picture, and it's basically a 4G and 5G device. Guess what? The device is $99, but it requires a subscription.
Of course.
But you plug that into the back of, right? Jeff Bezos ain't no fool. So you plug that in the back of one of your units, and if the internet goes out, which these days is pretty, hard for a lot of people, you got a backup source. And so that's a very smart device. But hint, you can hotspot it from your phone, but don't tell them I told you.
Okay. All right.
But I'm getting one of those.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Do a comparison between your phone and that thing, see which one does better.
Well, I mean, for the same reason, Ooma, if anybody's familiar with Ooma VoIP phones, they have a similar kind of device because it really is a plan B. And in this day and age, when everybody is so internet dependent for your phone, for this, thing that we're doing here, if I wanted to find out what was going on, I could turn my TV set on, but I wouldn't see anything because I can't stream because there's no broadband.
Right. Well, man, that's an awful lot of stuff we just covered, and it's not even the end. We're going to do a part 2 here and talk more about audio and some of the mega demos that were there. And that's going to come to you next week. But for now, why don't you tell our audience where they can find you online?
You can find me online in articles that I write for Residential Tech Today, www.restechtoday.com. And Hidden Wires, a very interestingly named publication, been around for many years. It mostly covers the European market, but they have some amazing installation things and some contributions for myself, which is hiddenwires.co.co. hiddenwires.co.uk. Why can't they be a .com like everybody else?
Because they're in the UK. Now, before we go on, you sent me the URL Hidden Wire, but I think
Wires
with a plural. It should be plural. Okay.
Or you can complain that, I'm losing it here to michaelheiss.com.
Your own website. I just took a look at it because I didn't realize you had one before, and it's really nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Especially the notary public part.
Okay, great. Well, listen, we're going to continue this on part 2, but for now, thanks a lot for being here. In some episodes, I love to answer questions from listeners, so send yours along to htg@twit.tv, and I'll answer as many as I can right here on the show. And as you know, all of TWiT's programs are available on YouTube for free, but with ads. If you want to go ad-free, join the club. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit and join today. Until next time, geek out.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to TWiT, your tech hub for intelligent, thoughtful conversations. If you want to take your experience to the next level and support what we do here at TWiT, say goodbye to ads and say hello to Club TWiT. With Club TWiT, you unlock all our shows ad-free. You also get exclusive members-only content. We do a lot of great programming just for the club members. You also get behind-the-scenes access with our TWiT Plus bonus feed and live video streams while we're recording. And don't forget the fantastic members-only Discord. It's where passionate tech fans like you and me hang out, swap ideas, and connect directly with all of our hosts. It's my favorite social network. I think you'll like it too. Club TWiT. It's not just a subscription. It's how you support what we do and become part of the TWiT family. Your membership directly supports the network, helping us stay independent and keep making the shows you love. If you're ready to upgrade your tech podcast experience, head to twit.tv/clubtwit and join us today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the club.